to Hedgehog Hollow. Today I wanted to make a project and give you some of my top tips. And we're going to be using the Hutson leading lady. There's lots and lots of these leading ladies. I don't think I have them all, but I have a good selection of them. And I wanted to show you how to coordinate multiple stamp sets together. And then I'm going to be sharing lots of my tips for all of these projects. So the first thing I want to show you my tips on is masking and layering. So the scene that we're creating today is this one of our leading ladies, and maybe we'll do one slightly different. But you can see here how this one has her arm tucked behind this lady, and so does this one. This one's at the front and this one's slightly behind. And then I've coloured them all in different colours, but we'll get to that in a while. So first of all, grab whichever leading lady you want to work with. This is Celebration Lady, Cozy, Medical, Baker, Teacher, which is one of the new ones, as is the Medical Lady, Hot Mess Lady, which I just love, Everyday Hero, Plant Lady, Dog Lady, Cat Lady, and then there are coordinating dies, of course, to go with them. I don't have many of the coordinating dies because I use my scan and cut, but you can do this either way. So the first thing I did was stamp out lots of my leading ladies, and then I used my scan and cut to get an on the edge cut, which is perfect for when we're working with this. I stamped them onto some masking paper. I'll link up in the description below my favorite masking paper. I either use Inkadinkado's masking paper, the LDRS one, or I just use temporary sticker paper, which you can get on Amazon. It's super inexpensive as well. So let's pick out some ladies that we're going to work with. I've got a few out there piece already. And what you're going to want to work out is who you want in the front and who you want behind. So I'm just going to grab some of these ladies here. Now, one way that I sometimes do this, and it's easy with photopolymers, you can either lay your ladies out as a scene like this and work out who's going where, or just grab your masks that you've made. And so I'm going to grab some of these. I think I'm going to tuck her behind there. And so you can see here how I'm just laying out my scene, and what you can do is you can work your way back from the back forward, and I wanted them at different heights. I wanted them with different skin tones, lots and lots of things that you can do. So you'll notice some are from the waist up, some have their whole body with them. I'm going to put this one behind, this one on here. So you can see there, and then what I would do is I would snap a picture with my phone. So I would just take my phone camera, snap a picture like that, and then I leave that on my phone screen even, and I slide those back like this. Grab a piece of stamping cardstock, whatever you like to colour on. This is just Nina Solar White, which I like working with. And then you want to work out who are your front two ladies. So in this case, my Baker and my Teacher are in the front for this scene. So I want to grab my Baker and my Teacher. And I'm going to adhere them onto acrylic blocks. You could, of course, use your Misty as well. And I'm going to use some Lawn Fawn Black Licorice. Either the Black Licorice or the Jet Black work really nicely for Copics. And so that's what I'm going to go with for this one. You can use an NFT hybrid is also really lovely. The LDRS hybrid is nice too. And so you can just stamp out your ladies like this, wherever you want them to be. And I try to put them back in the packet, and then I go through the packet and just wipe all of them afterwards, because we're going to use some of those extra pieces in there as well. We're also going to have our Baker lady at the front. And so again, I'm going to pop her onto my acrylic block like this. And then I'm going to ink up again. And the Lawn Fawn actually do a licorice black, which is just their regular black dye ink. And then they also do a jet black. So the black licorice is just the regular dye, and the jet black is the alcohol marker specific one. You can use whichever one you prefer working with. I happen to have stamped mine out and then coloured it. I stamped mine out yesterday and then coloured it in earlier on today, so I wasn't so worried about needing to have it dry or anything. The next step you're going to do is add on your masks. So I like using my craft pick, and that just, if you put it kind of in between the two, particularly if you've got your nails done like I do, it's sometimes harder to pick these things up, but your pick will go straight into there and will help you pull that backing piece off. So you can see there. And then you want to lay your mask over your stamped area. Wherever your stamping is, we're going to lay that mask on top. And we're going to lay our teacher on top as well. Sometimes there's a cut in the sticker paper which makes it even easier to peel that back piece off, but this one hasn't got that, so I'm just going to grab my pick, or you can grab a piece of, or your scissors. The Tim Holtz scissors here work really nicely as well, and if you just kind of put them on the edge, you'll find that one of those edges starts coming up for you, just like that. And then our next ladies were the, I think she's called Cozy Lady, in her little plaid pieces and leg warmers or socks there. Again, pop it on your acrylic block, ink it up. So this works for any scene. So whether you are trying to layer up flowers, maybe you're trying to layer up a woodland scene, all sorts of different scenes that you can do. I like also varying the heights, because if you try to go with a really straight height and then it goes wrong, it's really obvious that it's gone wrong. Whereas if you make it up and down, then there's plenty of room for error in there. So then we're going to pop her piece on as well. So I'm going to do the same, just peel off that backing of that sticker paper. Like so. And if you don't have a craft pick, as soon as you get one, it'll be one of those tools that you'll think, where has this been all the time that I've been crafting? I'm going to add my party lady on here as well. So let's grab her out. Again, ink her up. I'm going to position her in here, and there's a really nice spot for her head to just kind of fit into. I missed a little bit of her finger. I'm just going to touch that in. I'm also going to show you a trick for touching in other little areas if you need to as well. If I hadn't wanted to have her hand going up there, then what I could have done is just pop a little piece of masking paper or masking tape down, and then I could have just stamped over it, but I didn't think of that until afterwards. And then finally I'm going to have my messy bun girl over here, slightly different from that original scene. But by having those masks, it just really helps you kind of layer up your scene. You can play around with it as many times as you need to, and then you can start doing your stamping. And if you just take a picture with your phone, it can sit right in front of you as you need it. So let's do our messy bun girl. She can be on the edge here. So you can see. So at the minute we have kind of stamping all over the place. I also stamped, whilst I have my glass mat under here, I stamped on one of the non-stick craft sheets, because I can just pick this up. All my overstamps can go to the side. I can clean that off later. And now when I start peeling off these sheets, all of those overlaps have gone. You can keep these masks if they're still working. I quite often just pop them pop them on the front of my stamp, or maybe I'll pop them inside the envelope if I haven't used them at all. So like these ones here that still have that backing on, I'll just pop them inside of the stamp envelope and they're there for next time I use those stamps. Now there are a couple of areas there that you can see are open. And what I would do once I've finished colouring is I grab my multi-liner and I just kind of touch those in. And then I can just add in any extra lines. I can grab a 110 or I can grab a micron pen. But for instance here, where her arm is, I would just kind of line those up. Probably a little bit further over. So I would line that up so you can see her elbow goes into that elbow. You'll also notice, once I've coloured this in, I'm going to show you a few extra things that I then added. All the colours I'm about to use in colouring will be in the blog post, which you can also check out in that description below. Final coloured piece, and I left a little bit of this white piece here. I decided to fussy cut rather than use my scan and cut, more because my scan and cut is still in a box. We're redoing the craft studio here. But one thing I did do is just in places I took a micron pen and made sure that all of those shoulders join shoulder to shoulder, because if I'd wanted to scan and cut, then you need to have a black outline for it to follow. Now, when I was doing a class recently in Michigan, I had some questions on fussy cutting. So I wanted to show you my top fussy cutting tips. So first of all, I love these Tim Holtz scissors. You want to make sure the Tim Holtz is toward you because there is a serrated blade on one side. And I actually move my paper way more than I move my scissors. That way I find I get a much better fussy cut. So I'm just going into here. And so you can see how I'm turning my paper rather than turning my scissors. So again, I'm going to go into here. I'm cutting in quite an intricate area here. So I will get as far as I can with my regular cutting. And then again, you can just see I'm turning that paper, and that gives me a much better fussy cut. Then I'll go down on the other side. It's also, I find, much quicker than having to cut a little bit, move your scissors, cut a little bit. Just keep pushing that blade down. And so I can just go in here and see how far I've got. And then that's when I really take the tip of those scissors and I do lots of small cuts until that piece comes away. And you see I have a really nice clean fussy cut there. So my ladies are all together. I also coloured in here with, I think it was E77, a charcoal colour, just to fill in all those little areas so it looks like there's a background between them and I don't have white space. And as I'm going to be using craft cardstock behind them, again, that's going to work really well. Another tip is when you fussy cut, you quite often end up with little white areas. So I'm going to grab that porous piece of card paper that I was using before. So I always colour on something porous because it stops me getting too many bleeds. And anywhere that I feel has a little bit of white space that I don't want, sometimes maybe I've missed a little bit or I haven't been as even as maybe I wanted to be, I just take something like a T5, T4, T6, any of the lighter kind of mid toners, and I just take that brush tip and I fill in anywhere that I feel has a little bit too much white. There's a little bit in here, because we don't always fussy cut perfectly. But if you put that in, or maybe you could, like here, you cut off a bit too much of your black line, that's just gonna fill it in, and then your eyes do the rest. You won't actually notice much of it, but just by filling in those few areas that you may have missed, you can make your eye think that you have the perfect fussy cut. And I bet if I hadn't shown you all of these areas, you probably wouldn't be able to pick most of them out. I can see another one on the edge of her face here. And so it just helps make your cards look that little bit more professional and make it look like you have an exact fussy cut when you don't need to be that exact. And this was that brown area that I was talking about earlier. So now we're ready to start creating more of our card. And I already have taken all, or not all, but lots of the kind of ephemera type pieces that go with all your ladies, like the champagne glass, the ice cream, the book, the light bulb, the glasses, the A+, from lots of the leading ladies I used. I've mounted them up. First of all, I put them down on my piece of paper, or cardstock in this case. This is Desert Storm Nina cardstock. And I've lined them up and I've popped them onto the lid of my Misty. Now to move them around, I find they stick to my nails. So again, I use that wonderful craft pick to just move them around in those tight spaces until I have them exactly where I want them. Now we're going to do some watermark stamping, and for that I'm still playing around with the new Lawn Fawn clear ink. This is similar to the LDRS watermark, Versamark, Tonic clear mark, but I like to give them all a go in case one is a little bit different to another. And I do have a video comparing lots of those different inks. The Lawn Fawn one wasn't available at the time, but you can see that on the Hedgehog Hollow channel where you are watching this video. So I'm just stamping down onto my craft cardstock. It's going to then cut that pie again. And what you can see is you have a watermarked version of that stamped image. So it's a way of creating your own background paper using stamps you have. I didn't worry about this area because they're going to be covered up by my ladies. So you're not going to see all of those different spaces and things, but it just gives you a little bit of interest in the background. So I just kind of laid them up, and I wanted to show you the effect that you can get by adding them all over your paper. But this is just a nice watermark, so there's no colour needed. You just use a pad that you probably already have, or maybe you don't have a watermark pad. These are the exact same pads you use for embossing powder. Now I already have pre-made my Nina Solar White card base, cut, scored and folded. I'm going to add this piece on using a tape runner. My preference is the Tonic Funky tape, but whatever you like to use. Open up your card base. Again, another one of my top tips here. Always match your cardstocks onto your card bases while they're open. When it's open like this, my card base is pretty flat. When it's like this, it's a little bit springy, and you're not going to easily get that matte nice and even as you will by having it open. You'll find it's much, much easier having it closed. Now I'm going to add on some foam tape. I buy the big rolls from Scotch, the Ellen stocks, and I then cut myself off a length and I stick it down. I trim. These scissors that I was using for fuzzy cutting are also non-stick, so you can use your foams and things with them as well. You're not going to have any issues. It's not going to stick to your foam. You can cut right down the middle of your foam and you're not going to have any issues whatsoever, which I love about these scissors. So I'm just picking off, I pick off a length. You can see how I'm either cutting a square piece to go on the head. For longer pieces, I pop it down and then trim at the end. Like so. And then I'm going to do this last lady here. If I have any excess left like this, I just stick it on the edge of my piece there and it's ready to go for next time. It stays nice and sticky. Now I'm ready to pick this off. And so I'm just going to pick off all my little pieces. If you struggle to pick those pieces up, again, grab your craft pick and you'll find it picks those off. Particularly if you like using the red tape, this is the only way I can get that stickiness off of those red tapes is with the craft pick. So if you're looking to invest in a tool that's really going to give you some bang for your crafty buck, then this tool is totally it. So I'm just picking all of these up. And now I'm going to pop these ladies down. And I'd already trimmed them to be the width of my matted piece, so I know they're going to fit perfectly. So you can see on there, and they really pop nicely with that brown. The brown that I've put in here looks like a shadowed version of this that's behind them as well. And then we want to add on a sentiment. And there's lots and lots of wonderful women and mums and all those kinds of things, sentiments in here. The one that I really liked, which I think I'm going to use on this card, says, "You don't have to be perfect, you're flawsome," which comes from the Messy Bum set. And I am going to pop it onto here. And I'm just deciding how I want to do it. So again, by having a photopolymer stamp, I can really decide where I want to put it. And so I'm going to pop it down here. I'm going to keep working with this Lawn Fawn Watermark ink pad. I'm going to use an acrylic block. I have quite a lot of foam under there, so I don't have to worry too much about the fact I've already stuck it on. So for this, I'm going to work with the Nuvo Fine Detail Black Embossing Powder. I have my little toolkit here. And so I'm still not entirely decided which side to put it on, but I think I'm going to go on this left side because I normally put the sentiment on the right. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're going to ink up our sentiment. I've put a little bit of powder deactivation down here to remove any static. I'm now going to stamp down my sentiment, make sure I get a nice impression. And then I'm going to add my fine detail embossing powder. It is preferable to add your sentiment beforehand, but if, like me, you forgot or you're not entirely sure where you want it to go, you absolutely can do it this way round. These are a little tiny tray. I've had these for years. I use them in loads of videos, but they're great for sequins, for embossing powders, because they've got this little funnel on the end, and you can then just pop everything straight back in. So I'm going to heat set this with my Wagner heat tool. And so because I had adhesive underneath, and some adhesives have a tendency to curl with heat, I made sure that I heated up my heat tool before I popped it onto here, so that I was going to expose my piece for the least time possible. I've just seen a little bit there that I'm not so happy with. Just be careful not to hit that cardstock underneath. So I'm just using the very tip there. But it just gives you that nice crisp edge. So you can see there's our finished card. We've given you lots and lots of different tips there. Tips for fussy cutting, making your own backgrounds to stretch your stamps. When you haven't decided where you want your sentiment to go, you absolutely can do it this way too. Plus also how to build those scenes with masking paper. We hope you've enjoyed today's video here at the Hedgehog Hollow. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stamp the bell so you get notifications when we have future videos. Check out the blog post for all of these Copic combinations that I used on here as well, and more about my top tips, and of course that supply list is underneath this video in that description as well. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's video and you learned something as well. We hope to see you soon. Happy stamping! Bye!